All right, folks. So we're here on kind of an interesting iron field trip today. We are at the Red Power Roundup in Spencer, Iowa, at the Clay County Fairgrounds. And we're here asking people who brought tractors, tell us about the tractor you brought. Tell us what the most significant one was to you and why. And so we ran into the Blankensport brothers. They're from Rock Valley. And I've known these guys for a long time. But they brought how many trucks?
Six tractors.
So 2 truckloads.
2 truckloads.
They brought a half dozen.
Yep.
And so I wanted to ask you guys, which ones are the most significant?
Probably out of the 6 we brought 3 were Dad's and 3 were mine and my brother's. Mm-hmm. And probably the most significant is the pulling tractor that we brought. It's a 3688 3000 RPM tractor that we run with the Great Plains Truck and Tractor Pulling Association, the Northeast Nebraska Truck and Tractor Pulling Association, and the Western Iowa Pullers Association. And we debuted it in June of 2004 at Pulling for a Cure, a poll that was put on by the Big family to raise money for the American Cancer Society. Yep. We've made a lot of memories with it. The 3 of us, we don't hunt, fish, boat, golf.
This is the boat. This is the weekend spot.
Yep.
This is the place at Lake Okoboji.
Right. We tractor pull, and the memories that we have created with me and my brother and my dad, I wouldn't trade for the world. Mm-hmm. And I've made the comment lately now that this is our 25th year of pulling, that I've never made it to the major leagues, but for the career I've had, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's awesome. So that's one. You brought, what, 5 others?
Yeah, there's 5 others here.
And we won't go through, I'm not going to monopolize your time, take all the rest of them, but I do want to talk farm tractors.
Yes.
I want to see, show me one of those.
One of the farm tractors?
Yeah, let's go do that.
Let's walk outside to the 5288 ones.
Here we are. Wanted to talk farm tractors as well. And Timmy, you've anointed your brother to speak on this one. So, all right, let's have at it, Dan.
This is be the first 88 series that we as the Blankensport family got into. Tim told the story of our love for an 88 series that's a tractor puller, but there was a neighbor that had a 5088 that when I was little, I remember seeing that thing, and all I remember was the phrase "the new number one," and that was the IH catchphrase for these tractors. And I always liked the hood lines. There's just something about an 88 series tractor, the grill, the eyes, we call them.
You're in good company. I feel the same way.
Right.
I have a thing for 88.
They're just one of the coolest looking tractors out there.
It's been in the family since '92. It wasn't going anywhere.
Right. It's turned up a little bit, but nowadays it does some light tillage, hauls a lot of grain, but countless hours of Dad on the phone in the morning saying the boys aren't, or one of the boys aren't coming to school today. And we were in this thing, either disking or field cultivating. To this day, Tim is the tillage guy of our farming operation. Yep. I'd rather plant. Tim would rather do tillage. It works great.
It just works out.
Yep.
Just hours and hours of wide open turning around in the field with this thing in front of some other red equipment. But and someday, like we said, Dad owned it. Now we own it.
Yep.
Someday, hopefully, that
3rd generation.
Someday, the Lord willing, that Jake will be.
Yep.
Jake will be running this one too.
Bending it and sending it.
Yeah. I was walking by this row of beautiful machines, and I see this sign right here. And Perry and Mary Ellen Kelly, Harlan, Iowa. And then I see that one right there. This little sign that says "Shown in memory of Jerry Mez," and it kind of stopped me in my tracks. And so I turned around. And here's Perry. And I said, Perry, I really appreciate that sign. For those of you who have ever read Interesting Iron, I wrote a handful of articles kind of previewing Jerry's sales as they closed out and sent the tractors from the museum out to new owners. And I got to be good friends with Jerry. And one of the greatest afternoons of my entire life was actually the last day that I ever saw it. So I went and shook Perry's hand. I said, tell me who Jerry was to you. And he basically kind of looked at me and kind of smirked. He said, well, he was my boss for a long time. And so I asked him if he'd come on camera and tell us about it. And he said he would. So,
Yeah.
Perry, tell me, who was Jerry to you?
Jerry was like my second dad. Second dad to about everybody that worked in the business that took a liking to the antique tractors. We shared a lot of time going to shows, taking his tractors to shows. He really wouldn't let us pay for nothing. We were on the clock the whole time while we were at the shows and stuff, and couldn't ask for a nicer boss.
Yeah.
I mean, if you needed something, he was there to help you out.
Tell me the story of this one, because if you were ever there, if you ever went through the museum, there's a darn good chance that you saw this tractor, but you didn't see it like this. And
Yes.
there's a reason for it.
When we got it in from, we think it was local farmer, they had to be painted red back when they were sold.
Yep.
And we had gotten it in, been all repainted, beautiful red paint, pinstriped and everything up. Jerry was a pinstripe guy. He liked pinstriping. It was his 80th birthday. Me and my wife was walking around the museum along with hundreds of other people that came from the country.
What year would this have been?
I can't remember the year on
Okay.
it. But my wife was walking by and she looked up and says, "That's got a black dash. That could be a demonstrator."
Yep.
And I said, "Well, I don't know." And during the sale, a lot of people called and wanted to know if that was a demonstrator tractor. I honestly couldn't say yes or no because we never had the hoods off of it.
Right.
And stuff. So we ended up purchasing it, and we showed it a couple years as a red tractor, and then one day I got to thinking that maybe it could be, and we pulled the hoods off, and there is original gold paint underneath the hoods and side panels and stuff on this tractor, so it's documented that it is a gold tractor. We had it redone 3 weeks ago with the hoods, painted them gold.
Nice.
And turned out really nice.
It did. It's a beautiful tractor.
We've been having lots of comments on them, and you know, there's a lot of nice gold tractors here at the show. But this one was special to us. It was one of Jerry's. I ended up with 2 other ones from him, and we've been showing them the last 2 years in honor of him.
All right, so it's raining. That happens at Red Power Roundup sometimes. Another thing that doesn't happen very often is I found a man who's taller than me. That doesn't happen very often at all. But I wrote an article about Danny Anderson because Danny had 1086 #1, and that sold at auction, I don't know, going on a year ago.
Last September.
Yeah, and Danny and I got to be friends, and we told stories. You can find the Interesting Iron article on the blog and stuff like that. But as it turns out, that's not the only interesting tractor that Danny had. He's here today with one that's pretty rare. I'll let him tell you about it.
So this is this tractor here is a tractor that International Harvester had built at the time of the merger, and after the formal paperwork took place, they loaded these tractors up from Hinsdale Engineering in Chicago, and they hauled them up to Racine, Wisconsin, and they began the transformation of these tractors. Went from this into the Magnum.
Okay.
So they split the tractor right here at the bell housing,
Yep.
and they took away this entire front end with
Okay.
the DTI 466 and all that good stuff.
Yep.
And they made new frame rails, and they put an 8.3 Cummins in there.
Yep.
And then they redesigned the kind of the 94 series case hoods. They
Yep.
kind of redesigned them into the Magnum hoods. They changed out the rooftop on here. And they changed out the bar axles in the back, and they put the case bar axles in the back.
Yep.
The data center and the the instrument cluster in there is out of the 94 series case.
Yep.
But this tractor was completely done and would have been released at the Farm Progress Show in the fall of 1985.
Oh wow.
So they did the transformation on these tractors, and then they got released in the fall of 1987 at the Farm Progress Show.
Right.
So
Right,
that's
they
when the
drove
first
them-
Magnum came
Wasn't
out.
that when they drove them up out of the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. So, just so everybody's clear, this cab was totally done by International Harvester. They had this thing was all done. And the single door cab, I have the pictures of the original one. And so yeah, so I built this tractor out of a 7130 Magnum and a 5488. The 5388 number is my number I put on there.
Yep.
As far as putting this tractor all together, I took the Magnum back in the 5488 and I rolled out the front end of the Magnum, and I had the 5488 split, and then I just rolled the front end of the 5488 in and stuck them up there and stuck the bolts in, tightened it up.
Wow.
So everybody asked me how I did it. I said it wasn't hard.
Right.
I didn't do anything. I just put it back together,
Right.
like International Harvester had it. I can honestly tell you, last night when I unloaded this tractor, there were probably 5 different guys walked up to me, and they look at this tractor and they're like, man, that thing is this awesome. The first words out of their mouth after they say that is, just think if International Harvester would have come out with that tractor.
Yep.
I said, yeah, they wouldn't have had to get bought out.
Yep.
They wouldn't have had to sell the company,
Yeah.
because they were this close. And they had the tractor done. It was
Yep.
done. I met the engineer in Chicago when I restored that articulated 7140
Same
for
guy.
Case IH.
Same guy.
This is the last tractor that he built for International Harvester.
No kidding. I like it. So, well, thank you, man. It was good to run you down.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you.